Hello and welcome to another An Old Man Watches. And today we're going to be talking about Dark City from 1998. And basically this movie kicks off with a man waking in a hotel bathroom and he's suffering from amnesia. And then he gets a phone call urging him to flee before he is found. And he decides to take that advice when he walks into the main room of his hotel room and discovers a murdered woman there. So he gets away, narrowly escaping a group of people who are looking for him, and starts piecing together clues about who he is and what's going on. So he learns his own name, it's John Murdoch, and that he's wanted for murders that he doesn't remember committing, what with the whole amnesia thing. Murdoch manages to evade capture until midnight, and that's when things get really strange. Everyone but him falls asleep, and the city physically rearranges itself, buildings disappearing and new buildings growing in their place. It's clear that he stumbled across a much deeper and stranger mystery than a bunch of murders. But if he wants to solve it, he's going to have to stay ahead of not just the police, who obviously, still want to catch this guy that they think is a serial killer, but also whoever is behind the secret of this dark city. See how I did that title drop there? I'm so clever. So, what's Dark City got going on? Well, it's got a bit going on. So there's three things, as usual, that I want to talk about, specifically with this movie. So let's kick it off with the amnesia hook. The movie starts with a guy with amnesia. A friend of mine is an author and a publisher of weird fiction, Brain Jar Press, if you're interested in checking out their stuff. And he used to teach creative writing for a local university. And from his experience, variants of, I just woke up and I don't know who I am, are among the most overused openings for a story. Lots and lots of stories that he got given in creative writing class to assess started that way. And it's easy to see why people use it. It's easy to see why Dark City uses it. It puts the main character on the same footing as the audience, knowing nothing about anything. And it creates a ready in-universe reason for lots of exposition and inference. If the main character doesn't know where he lives, who he is, what's going on, people have a reason to tell him, and that means they have a reason to tell the audience. There are other techniques you can do for this. I got transported to a new world, which is a common thing in a lot of urban fantasy type stuff, and like the Narnia books did that, for instance. Or I learned the world is not what I thought, where I discovered that vampires exist, or whatever it may be. That's also a technique for justifying this kind of stuff. Dark City uses that, that I learned the world is not what I thought, as well as the amnesia hook. Another movie that uses the I learned the world is not what I thought is The Matrix, which brings me to comparing these two films. I've called this Shadow of the Matrix because one of these movies launched a monster franchise that is about to have a fourth film coming out 20 plus years later, and the other movie is Dark City. Now, it beat The Matrix to cinemas by a year in the United States. It was more like 6 months here in Australia, and the marketing campaigns for the two films actually overlapped here. And they share a lot of similar concepts. A man discovers his world is controlled by a shadowy, like a malevolent force that can rewrite reality and operates through scary agents. And then he works with others that he's not entirely sure he can trust, ultimately developing powers that let him bend time and space like his enemies do. But Dark City barely scraped back its production budget, which was half that of The Matrix, while, as I mentioned, The Matrix launched a monster franchise. So what's the difference? Well, possibly it's the genre. Dark City is a noirish mystery in a weird world, and the marketing campaign seemed to play it reasonably close to the chest as to what was going on and why. It built, it really traded on that sense of mystery. The Matrix made it very clear that it was a the marketing for it made it very clear it was a waifu action spectacular, and that you're going to get massive visual experience, and it set pretty clear stakes in its marketing. It told you what was on the line. So I think, that's why the two, they have a lot of similarities. They also have a lot of difference in how they're executed. And I think, that difference of genre and that difference of marketing is probably a big contributor to why they had different levels of success. Although I think, it probably needed a bit more work on certain elements of the script, I ultimately think Dark City is the better film, but I can definitely see why it didn't enjoy the same commercial success and cultural success, because, it's not in any way remembered as broadly as The Matrix, or as referenced as often as The Matrix. And then finally, something that I really wanted to call out about this movie is it has great visual design. I love the sets and the prop design, as well as its use of colour and the absence of colour. Director Alex Proyas has always really excelled at the visual elements of filmmaking. And on this film, I don't think he was the only one. I think there were a lot of people working on this who really understood the visual aspect of film. The look of this movie does a huge amount of work to help build its creepy vibe and to establish the villains as eerie and threatening. So thumbs up to everybody involved on that front. Really good job. And ultimately, I think like if you like, science fiction-y, weird fiction, urban fantasy type stuff, Dark City is worth a look. So yeah, I would say check it out. What am I going to talk about next time? Well, next time I'm going to talk about Bathory, Countess of Blood from 2008. A movie that has some issues. Let's put it that way. I'll talk about what they are in the next video. In the meantime, thanks for watching this one. I hope you found it interesting. Catch you later.